So the Manchester derby is fast approaching. And every time there's a Manchester derby, the same debate pops up over and over again. And it's doing the rounds again. And that is Pep better than Fergie? Is Fergie better than Pep? Now, it's easy to go into this with bias. You know, City fans go in with bias, United fans go in with bias, and that is how people make up their minds. But if you take away the unbiasedness, is that a word? I think it is. And you look at what the facts present you, then it's an interesting debate. Now, although I'm a City fan, I don't disrespect Sir Alex Ferguson in a footballing way, in what he has achieved in the game way, but as a person, I don't really like him. But before we dive into this debate, please make sure to like, subscribe, and get involved. Not just City fans, all fans are welcome here, because I'm not a serious person, I'm not going to just talk shit just to make people happy. There's going to be lots of banter on here as well, not just City related content, all football content. But let's start with Sir Alex Ferguson. Now, the main argument United fans will have about Fergie being better than Pep is what he achieved at Aberdeen. They throw it out there, they do. They say, well, Fergie did it at Aberdeen. Could Pep do it at Aberdeen? No, I don't think he can. But when you break it down a bit and, just use your head, Pep has never done it at Aberdeen. And that is fair. It's a fair comment to say what Fergie did at Aberdeen is something Pep hasn't done and therefore better. You can say that. I'm just checking on my family are around. You can say that. But Pep has never done it, and Pep will probably never go and manage a club like Aberdeen or do something similar, like, I don't know, managing Bournemouth, for example, because it's not that Pep doesn't want to do it. It's all the top clubs want him, they all want him. And after City, he'll probably go on and do internationals, probably. But it's a hypothetical. You can't say Fergie is better than Pep because he did that at Aberdeen without no evidence that supports the fact that Pep can't do it. It's fair enough. You say, well, Pep's only done the big clubs with all the money. That's fair. That's fair. Fair dues. But you haven't seen him at a lower club. He may do it, and you can't base someone being better than the other without the other one even doing it. Like, for example, let's say me and you were in an art competition, yeah, and you did this amazing drawing, one of the best drawings ever, and the judge, he comes over to you and he goes, wow, that's fucking brilliant. I have never seen drawings like this. They're probably the best I've ever seen. And then the judge comes over to me and he goes, look, I don't think you should do it. I think he's already won. He's got it in the bag. You shouldn't bother. And I'm like, what do you mean? You've not seen my drawings. I could do better. You don't know. He goes, no, I've seen enough. And you're like, what? I've not had the chance. And that is what it's like. I think. And it is like that. You cannot say he's better for this when the other person has never been in that situation. And then for Sir Alex Ferguson, and I must admit, I'm an admirer of this bit. So he won 13 league titles at Manchester United. Massive achievement. An achievement of which we will never see again in the Premier League. It was huge. It's huge. And 25 years at one club. You're never going to see that. Pep will not be at City for 25 years. Therefore, extremely unlikely to be given the chance to win 13 league titles. And as well, for Fergie, he managed to somehow, within those 25 years, keep the team at the top, for 25 years. Do you know how difficult that is in one of the most competitive and most difficult leagues to win? But also, he kept on building and rebuilding, and kept the energies high year after year after year. And for that, you have to tip your hat. And for that, he has to go down as one of the greatest managers of all time, not just in the Premier League. The teams that Fergie assembled throughout those 25 years is just unbelievable, unheard of. And as I said, you will never see it. It did get a bit of luck, though, along the way, getting that class of 92, because, you don't understand how rare it is to get a class of 92 like that, 5, 6 players of that quality all coming through at the same time and then offering 20 years of service themselves, Giggs, Scholes, Butt, Neville, Beckham, they were there a very long time and crucial players, because you have to wonder what would life at United have been like without that class of 92. The only thing that you can compare the class of 92 with is, ironically, Pep Guardiola at Barca, when he had the likes of Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, Pedro, Busquets, that is as close as to a class of 92 that you can get, if not better, and that is why it's so rare, and that is why it's slightly fortunate for Fergie, but you could say it's fortunate for Pep, if Pep didn't have those players, life at Barcelona could have been very different as well. So those are the things that you can bring a case for with Fergie. There is other things you can say, but I'm talking about real, pioneering stuff. And as we move to Pep Guardiola, now, as I was saying before, there's no hypotheticals here. There isn't. There's no what if this or what if that. It's what we have to judge with. Okay? Now, I've established already, it's very unlikely, in fact, probably impossible, that Pep is going to do an Aberdeen, given the fact a club like that is not going to get him. It's that simple. If Pep leaves City tomorrow, he's not going. He's not going to a club like Aberdeen. He'll remain in one of Europe's top leagues. He may even go to like Saudi or something like that. Or I reckon personally, international level. But the facts that we have is that Pep has beaten Sir Alex twice. That's massive in itself, because the teams that Fergie had were no slouches. They're in Champions League finals, for fuck's sake. So you can say there's one. Fergie hasn't beaten Pep. And also, the things that Pep has done in the Premier League is monumental to what Sir Alex Ferguson has done, other than the amount of years stayed at the club, therefore the amount of titles that are in reach. 13 titles are not in reach for Pep Guardiola because he won't be here. Simple as that. You look at things like 100 points achieved in the Premier League. Fergie hasn't done that. That in itself is monumental when you deep it. When you think about all the teams, all the amazing teams in the Premier League, none have reached 100 points, and then you've got 4 in a row. I know on multiple occasions, I think Fergie has done 3, but 4, it's unheard of, until Pep. And then there is the domestic quadruple. Now, a domestic quadruple in which Sir Alex Ferguson said it is impossible to do, and you would agree because no one's fucking done it. Do you know what I mean? And it's not about how much money that you spend. It's about staying at an elite level for the whole season, winning everything, in one of the most difficult leagues, in one of the most difficult countries to be successful. It's massive. So if you are judging on the facts that we have available. I don't know why I said that. You have to say Pep comes out on top. But what I will say is that Pep and Fergie are very similar. Okay, not in styles of play, but as managers, as humans, they take no nonsense. The mentality is beyond any other, well, not any other manager, but majority of managers. That is why they stay at the top for so long, because of that mentality, that attitude of wanting to win no matter what, and getting the right players. Fergie and Pep are the best two examples of not just buying players for the quality that they have, but buying players that have that elite mentality, because you're not just buying someone that's good at football, you're buying someone that's good at football with an elite mentality and a high football IQ. And that is where a lot of other clubs fail. Okay, they can spend a load of money on talented players, but they don't have the mentality and they don't have the IQ. Like, look at Manchester United now with Amorim. And this is no dig at Amorim. I think Amorim's a decent manager. But the players they have, there's no elite mentality. There's no high football IQ. And that's why they fail. Each manager United have brought in has faced the same problem. Shit players, shit mentality, low football IQ. I think even Sir Alex Ferguson and Pep Guardiola would struggle getting the best out of that current United team. That's how bad it is, It really is. But that is my conclusion of the debate. And to be honest, there's not a lot in it, is there? Just the facts that we have, and none of this hypothetical nonsense, because you cannot judge off that. So what do you think? Hey, what do you think? What is your opinion of this? What do you judge? What do you judge this debate on? And what conclusion do you come to? Let me know down in the comments. The Derby day is approaching. I'm shitting my pants. Literally, there's no Onana. He's gone. That was my... What was it? What was it I was going to say? That was sort of my get out of jail free card for City, just pump balls at Onana for 90 minutes. But no, we can't even do that now. So, thank you for watching. Maybe hit a like and subscribe, only if you want. Only if you want. And I shall see you in the next one, potentially. Take care. Bye-bye.